In the previous episode, I realized that the chassis got slightly damaged in the accident. One of the chassis arms is slightly bent, and the car cannot be registered unless the chassis is perfectly straight. The car has to be sent to the chassis straightening machine, and in order to be straightened, the entire engine and the gearbox have to be removed from the car, so they are not in the way of the repairs. As I am not able to do this job at my home, the car is now in the big shop.
So I'm back at our house. The engine needs to come out of the car for two reasons. First reason is that the chassis needs to have some repair. And the second reason is that there is some leak apparently between the engine and the gearbox. As the engine is out, it's going to be much easier to change this. I think it's a gasket. Once the engine is out, the car will be shipped to CCM machine. So the frame can be put back into default position.
This kind of work I could not do by myself. You need special machines, special tools. So I asked for help from someone who can do this kind of work.
So I'm here at Auto House with Jürgen. Jürgen, you have a lot of nice cars here. What do you do for a living?
We repair cars, we fix impossible.
What about my car? Is that going to be an impossible fix?
No. You bought a very nice car, to be honest. I like it. The only problem is I think it was a little bit more damaged than you thought it would be.
Yes.
And we are more than happy to help you out.
Yeah. The thing is that I never did anything like this. So this is like a complete experiment. And I have failed to notice few bigger problems on the car.
We are here to help and make sure that your car is safe and sound on the road as soon as possible.
So there is some oil here leaking. Is it between the engine and the gearbox?
Yes. Crankshaft.
So this is a usual problem?
Yes.
And when the engine is down, it should be easy to replace?
We'll remove the gearbox and we'll check.
The engine is being disconnected. The oil was drained. Now removing all the bits out before the engine can be removed from the car. It took several hours to disconnect everything from the chassis, all the cables, all the hoses, all the engine mounts, everything had to be removed so that the engine could be on the ground while the chassis is being lifted up. This is the first time that I've seen engine and gearbox out of the car. If somebody told me 10 days ago when I was starting this project that this is how far it's gonna go, I would not have even started the project. But now we're in the middle of it and going to the end. After the engine and gearbox have been dropped, we were able to examine where the leaks are coming from. So at the top of the engine, valve cover gaskets on both sides of the engine. Between the engine and the gearbox, there is a crankshaft rear seal and converter seal. Then the vacuum pump seal. Also, the oil in the engine will be replaced, the oil in the gearbox, as well as gearbox filter and engine filter. Two air hoses were disconnected from the suspension compressor.
and I assume that is why the car was sitting low on the ground. I hope after reconnecting, the suspension will work fine. Now that everything has been removed, we can see more clearly where the impact damage was. So here is the main point of impact that buckled. The driver chassis arm on the other side looks much better. However, there is a slight bend here, and so both have been pushed to the left. End of the day, this is the first time I visited the Autohaus shop. I have seen them many times on the racetrack, as I do racetrack photography. They were handling a large number of racing cars in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and but this is the first time I actually came to visit. The scope of this work, taking the engine out, is at this moment beyond me. I was very lucky that they decided to help me out with it. The car is ready to be placed onto the recovery truck, and it will go to the CCM machine to fix the chassis damage. Car has arrived at the Falcon's garage. So these guys are doing chassis repairs. They have 4 CCM machines. They put the car on the chassis repair machine. It's connected to the computer. The chassis needs to be straight, and during the impact it got pushed in this front segment. Here is the big bend. They will start measuring the points on the chassis. All of this is recorded in the computer. Once the points have been recorded, the computer will show which areas are out of tolerance. Look at the red points. Those are the ones that need to be corrected. This is not for my car, this is for a different car. An example. And once all the dots are green, the car is good to go. Looking here on my car, this is one of the points that I measure. So they have this side and this side. So this is where the bolts go, so they know where to put the machine. The computer here is going to show the part of the car where the measurement tool needs to go, so they cannot make a mistake. It says here the blue dot, put the measurement tool there, and you can see it on the car. I'm here at Falcon's garage with Bruno. Bruno, what is it that you do here?
We mainly do chassis. We fix them up. We do some paint work and mechanical work.
Mostly you're doing chassis work because you have specialized machines for chassis repair.
Yep, our machines are from Sweden. They're specialized in straightening up frames, chassis frames.
And there's a lot of cars that I see in your garage. How many cars usually comes here per week?
We're usually doing around 40 per week.
40 cars per week. That's a lot of chassis repairs. You also do the complete cars, but mostly you focus on the chassis.
We take on a few projects from A to Z, but mainly it's just the shop.
So on my car, once you finish, it's gonna be back to the manufacturer specification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The manufacturer specifications.
Yeah. Once the points have been measured, the computer is going to show if they are in specs or not. If they are not in specs, they're going to be using one or more hydraulic jacks. That's this thingy here. And they connect to the point, and they will put 1, 2, or 3 different jacks and pull in a specified direction to straighten it back to specs. So this is the report from the car, and it's showing in the red lines where the damage was. Everything else on the car is good. After 1 hour, it's already looking much better. So this hydraulic jack is very slowly pulling the arm in the right direction. So they cannot do it fast because the frame could break. After days of straightening, This is the final result. So this is completely back to stock. On the other side, now the car will go to Ministry of Transportation. They're gonna check the chassis and issue a report that it's per standards.
In the next episode, car is back at Outhouse Garage, where we do the service on the engine and the gearbox, replace the gaskets, filters, oils, liquids. We put the engine and the gearbox back in the car and make sure that everything is running well. Please support me in making these videos. Subscribe, like and post a comment. See you in the next episode.